In any week of the year, in any part of the country, you can see public opinion at work. About all these men and women who make up a public, we notice two things. Their demands for action are discussed and debated, and they feel themselves to be members of a group. Not just every collection is a group. Here we have a lot of people, each looking out for himself. Since they don't feel and act like a group, they are not a public. These people do feel themselves to be members of a group, and they are making demands for collective action. But they're not a public either, because their demands are not debatable. No one is permitted to question them. A group of this kind we call a crowd. What a crowd feels and believes is not public opinion, but crowd sentiment. And when a crowd goes in for collective action, we call it a mob. A mob is not a public. To be a public, people must not only feel themselves to be members of a group, they must also be willing to discuss and debate their demands for collective action. Collective action through public opinion built this grand new water plant in Centerville. Let's go back and see how it all came about. We'll see public opinion growing from realizing that something was wrong, through people's explanations of what the trouble was, through the remedies they suggested for solving it, through further debate, to final action. And we shall see the entire public opinion process influenced by things that happened to people and by the kind of people they were to begin with. Different members of the public had a variety of experiences which first brought about the feeling of unrest that started off the public opinion process. Let us look in on a public meeting in Centerville, where some of these experiences were being discussed.
Go on, Mrs. Salvatore. A pollywog, you say?
Yes, it was for sure a pollywog. I was getting a drink of water when out of the tap comes a pollywog. It is not good that water should
It certainly is not good enough. Now, just last evening, I had some Greenfield people in to dinner, and one of my most important guests just couldn't drink the water because it smells.
It's hitting us in our private lives and in business. Take Mr. Smith down at the bottling plant. He tells me that the water is spoiling his product so badly, he may have to close down the plant. Something must be done.
Centerville citizens were led by these and other experiences to feel it was up to them to analyze their water problem and solve it. Citizen committees asked expert witnesses to testify.
Please go ahead, Dr. Johnston. You say we can expect many conflicting explanations and recommendations.
Yes. These stories in today's Times are an example. Now, this group is certain your town needs a new water system. And this group is equally certain a few plumbing repairs will do the trick.
And what is your opinion, Dr. Johnston?
Well, from my investigation, I'm sure the trouble is much more deep-seated than the state of Mrs. Salvatore's pipes. The hospital pipes are as clean as they can be. And yet, as you know, the hospital boils every drop of its drinking water. As I see it, there's only one intelligent thing the Centerville public can do: finance a new water system by voting a bond issue.
When public opinion was forming on the bond issue question in Centerville, and people debated the pros and cons, their positions depended not only on their experiences with the water, but also on their predispositions, the attitudes and prejudices they had prior to the water issue. There are various ways of getting at Centerville's predispositions to vote bond issues. There were the established organizations with definite policies regarding the spending of public funds. And in the recent school bond election, voters had shown their predispositions toward bond issues. The wealthiest districts, where people are especially aware of property taxes, showed a small majority in favor. In middle-income neighborhoods, a larger majority favored the issue. And in low-income neighborhoods, where most renters are not aware of paying property taxes, a very large majority favored the issue of school bonds. As Centerville's public debated they were influenced by the press, the radio, and other forms of communication. This stream of communication can be carefully analyzed to discover what contribution the radio and the newspapers made to the public opinion process. We can tabulate the number of times the water issue was referred to at all in Centerville's press and radio. We could go a step further and classify each of these references into favorable and unfavorable. We could go even beyond that and classify newspaper and radio references to the dispute according to some standard, such as factual accuracy. We could also find out if the local news reporting presented only one side of the story, that is, if it contained propaganda. At various times during the water controversy, we could have measured Centerville's public opinion in order to discover what action was likely to result. One way of measuring public opinion is by interviews. Brief interviews are called polls. It is not necessary to interview everybody. A few people are carefully selected as samples of the important groups of the general public. By interviewing them, and we can usually make opinion quite out. And in planning the interviews, we would remember that members of a community's public don't live only in the town itself. They may live outside its geographical boundaries, opinion process. The widest measure of public opinion is an election, like the bond election which Centerville finally held. An election is an opinion census. It gives us a chance to study the opinion of every individual member of the public. But if that opinion is to be enlightened, people should be able to get at the facts.
I advise everyone to read the excellent report submitted by Dr. Johnston. This water report makes it perfectly clear that the town's water system has become antiquated and run down to the point where it is not only a public nuisance, but a public health danger.
For public opinion to be enlightened, press and radio reporting should be balanced. There should be sources of information with opposing points of view available in every community. The environment should make possible for the supply of available information to be critically sifted in public and private discussion. To be critically sifted by citizens who examine competent witnesses and get expert opinions. An enlightened public opinion depends also upon whether members of the public can overcome their prejudices and learn to think objectively. As Washington said, referring to public opinion in his farewell address, "In proportion as the structure of government gives force to public opinion, it is essential that public opinion should be enlightened." It is no less true today that a people's government can be wise if public opinion is enlightened.
Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer of AV Geeks. Adjusting my webcam a little bit so I'm more focused. Anyways, I collect old educational films and show them to folks like you all over the world. I used to do it physically, but now I'm doing it virtually. This is an opportunity for me to show you some films that I've had digitized over the last decade. I don't know, maybe even longer than that. And give you something to do for lunch instead of looking at the news. And it gives me a reason to take a shower and to basically shave every day. So thank you for that. Thank you for your comments. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces in the comments. So yesterday was 420. So everybody wanted me to show marijuana films, and that kind of bumped something that I wanted to do. I should have had, well, I didn't really have it ready, so, but a pretty phenomenal animator died over the weekend, Gene Deitch. He did a lot of educationals for Weston Woods, and he did Tom and Jerry. He did a variety of different things. Most of his like animation were for companies that were pretty low budget because he was based in Prague, and so he could get animation done relatively inexpensively. But his vision was really great, and what I want to do is, I mean, the dude was 95, so he's had a very long, amazing life. I'll try to put a link in the comments. But I wanted to show this film. I have a couple of Deitch films in my collection, and so I had to figure out a way to get one of them, which I had not had digitized yet, to you. So I couldn't really have shown it yesterday. Anyway, so here is something that you probably all know. He did a lot, for Weston Woods, he did a lot of adaptations of children's books, and this is one of the most popular ones he did. What's great about this is the animation is it's beautiful because it's using the Marie Sendak illustrations, but the real joy here is actually the soundtrack. And what was interesting is that Weston Woods later released this, but totally took out the soundtrack. And the soundtrack is really something that Gene Deitch worked on, and it's music. Because he was a 78 collector. He loved old jazz. But it's this kind of weird collage of different things. So here's Gene Deitch. Where'd my mouse go? My mouse just disappeared. Hold on a sec. Sorry. My keyboard is, oh, that's what's going on. Keyboard got chunked. All right, anyways. Sorry about that. We're live. All right, here we go. Here's where the wild things are. Enjoy.
And then she started playing the game with the baby. The baby was a few weeks old. I putting a bottle in the baby's mouth and pulling it out. Putting a bottle in and pulling it out. And we said, gee, what a funny mother.
Where the wild things are. The night Max wore his wolf suit. And made mischief of one kind and another. His mother called him Wild Thing! And Max said, I'll eat you up! So he was sent to bed without eating anything. That very night in Max's room, a forest grew. And grew. And grew. Until his ceiling hung with vines, and the walls became the world all around. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max. And he sailed off through night and day. And in and out of weeks. And almost over a year. Where the wild things are. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars. And gnashed their terrible teeth. And roared their terrible eyes, and showed their terrible claws, until Max said, "Be still!" and tamed them with the magic trick of staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once. And they were frightened, and called him the most wild thing of all, and made him king of all wild things. "And now," cried Max, "let the wild rumpus start!" "Now stop," Max said. And sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of all wild things, was lonely and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. Then all around, from far away across the world, he smelled good things to eat. So he gave up being king of where the wild things are. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so." And Max said, "No." The wild things roared their terrible roars. And gnashed their terrible teeth. And rolled their terrible eyes. And showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye. And sailed back over a year, and in and out of weeks, and through a day, and into the night of his very own room, where he found his supper waiting for him. And it was still hot.
Wow, such a great film. Really something. And the sound effects, like what? The first time I saw the film, my copy, I was like, what is going on with the sound? What's happening? But the more I watch it, the better it gets and kind of adds to the whole story. And so, Gene Deitch, we miss you, and we love your work. I pasted a little Wikipedia link that talks about some of the work that he did in his life. And there are other films that I have that he made for Weston Woods, and maybe one or two that he did for UPA, but because I'm stuck at the house and not at the archive, it was difficult for me, so I picked the one that resonated most with me at the time. Speaking of animation, this next film talks to us about how important teeth are, and has a couple of musical numbers as well. It's a very odd film. It's called Teeth Are a Good Thing to Have. And so enjoy.
And right behind, the first 2 teeth. Then came more teeth, and more. Teeth are good things to have. The problem is, they fall out. Throughout history, man has been losing his teeth prematurely. It could happen to anyone. Men of science.
Gravity.
Kings. Lovers. Man lost his teeth for no apparent reason, and there was nothing he could do about it. Until now. Now, dentists know why adults lose their teeth.
Cavities?
Sometimes. Cavities are the main problem for children, but adults lose their teeth because of gum disease.
Gum disease?
Well, look. There's a film on your teeth to the gum and beneath that can make any smile look inferior. For the film on your teeth to the gum and beneath is composed of countless bacteria. Bacteria, you see, plus saliva debris makes a substance that couldn't be scarier. In each cranny and crack, they form something called plaque. It's enough to give you hysteria. On your teeth, front and back, that get covered with plaque, your mouth couldn't look much hairier. What you drink or you chew, you should regulate to keep most sugars out of this area.
Hi, bacteria. Hi, sugar.
For this food on your teeth, on the gum and beneath, encourages this bacteria. So, friend, have concern for the foods that you yearn to eat at home or cafeteria. Or you'll really be through with the only teeth you have got in your oral interior.
Is this bad? I mean, this here, plaque?
Is it bad? Well, it's about the worst thing you can get on your teeth.
Oh, why?
Well, here's why. Listen.
We have a depravity to make you a cavity.
Our aim is deformity of greatest enormity.
There is no immunity in any community. Just call us plaque. For fecal impurity, there is no security. We're kept in captivity. We're kept in captivity. Oh, yeah. We warn you with clarity. Yes, sir. We make you a cavity. Just call us plaque.
We really thrive and stay alive to multiply.
Oral acids are the reason why. Fanatical, implacable, it's dental anarchy. We bubble, toil, and trouble. No tooth will go crack-free. We have a depravity, irregular cavity. There is no timidity. We all dig acidity. We have the capacity for lots of tenacity. Just call us Plaque.
Kids with an affinity for plaque in this vicinity lose teeth for eternity. Even those from maternity. It's such a great pity.
It don't look so pretty.
Just call it Plaque.
Begging your pardon, we're starting to harden on the outside and in between. When we form tartar, get harder and harder, we pack in like a sardine. It's so bizarre that we go down so far on the teeth that may look very clean. After supper, sandwich lunches, your teeth should be clean, or we turn to hardening bunches that get down between. Hiding and rubbing, the gum line we're scrubbing, infection is on the scene. We make great issue, inflaming your tissue, do something it's never been. Some sore and swollen teeth with a hole in your mouth is now a sad thing. Diarrhea, gum infection can come with tooth decay. Diarrhea makes teeth loosen up. To fall away.
What can I do to stop this?
Preventive oral hygiene is what you need. I'm going to show you how you can remove plaque before it can cause tooth decay, or gum disease, or loss of teeth. First, you use a disclosing tablet that colors plaque so you can see exactly where it is on your teeth. Then remember these three things. The toothbrush, dental floss, and me.
There's just us three, brush and floss and me. We're here to convey we stop dental decay. There's just us three, brush and floss and me. One thing does unite us. We fight gingivitis. There's just us three, brush and floss and me.
If there should be a trace of pyorrhea,
There's just us three, brush and floss
and me,
we'll each take a whack at unhinging plaque. There's just us three, brush and floss and me. You'll see, there's just us three.
Take it away, brush.
I've got a special little knack for getting rid of plaque and to make teeth clean as a whistle. With sparkling dentifrice, I'm the plaque's nemesis. Scrub back and forth with every bristle. One thing you can't dismiss, cleaning every small crevice when you bring your brush into play. If on close analysis, plaque is out from each abyss, you'll have cut down on tooth decay. Take it away, Floss.
My ability is a facility to get between with dexterity but no temerity. To get teeth clean, my tenacity and capacity is to reach each plaque. Move its rigidity with rapidity from every crack. The obscurity of plaque's impurity can be your loss. Plaque mortality with a finality can come through floss. My popularity is the clarity. I can bequeath in tonality and totality of plaque. Free teeth. Take it away, dentist.
Anyone worth his dental degrees will give you these analyses. Search out plaque without delay. It's a major cause of tooth decay. Many foods that lodge and squeeze between your teeth cause gum disease. Be diligent like the CIA and get out plaque left every day. You can do it, ha-ha, with so much ease. There's toothbrush and floss, use both of these. Brush teeth clean as the Milky Way. Use floss to get last night's parfait. Someone who's worth his dental degrees has just given you his analyses. Make regular visits. Call me, please. I'll set your teeth and mind at ease.
There's just us three. Now you plainly see.
A little prevention is worth some attention.
There's just us three.
Brush
and floss.
Me.
Just do it today.
Get rid of decay.
With just us three. Brush and floss and me. You'll see, you'll see.
Use your brush and your dental floss every day and see your dentist regularly. That's preventive oral hygiene. Eat a balanced diet and use a fluoride toothpaste. That's the best way to prevent gum disease and tooth loss.
It took 25,000 years for us to learn this lesson. Don't forget it.
There's just us three. Now you plainly see. A little prevention is worth some attention. There's just us three.
Brush
and floss
and me.
You'll see, you'll see. There's just us three.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Hello, everybody. So I don't know what happened. I feel like Facebook, the copyright hammer came down on me and stopped the streaming, but I don't know. Basically, when I look at the streaming dashboard, it's just blank. It's saying it can't play back. But yeah, so that film was pretty awesome. I forget how crazy the songs are, and thank you, Johnson & Johnson and Young and Rubicon, for that. I don't know if you looked at all the credits of who everybody was, but I might do a little bit of digging during this next film. I always try to show a food or drink-related film because it's lunch, and that's why you're here, is you're eating lunch or breakfast or dinner. And so this film is brought to us by the National Dairy Council. The beginning is clipped a little bit, but it talks about how important milk is to our diet. And why I like this film is I feel like this was made in the 40s, probably early 40s. The reason I like this film is it breaks down all of our food into 2 food groups. I have films that go up to 7 food groups, but this one it just has 2. Can you guess what they are? So here it is, More Life in Living.
Decide what our favorite pastime really is, eating some consideration. We contract the habit of eating at a very early age, and we like it so well this fellow simply lives to eat. It's one and only indoor sport. Every few hours he wants that snack, and if he doesn't get it, well, he's most unhappy about the whole thing. Some folks say it's hard to get up before breakfast, but most folks know it's a mighty good way to start the day right. Uh-oh, a trifle late there, my good man, and Father is a bit vexed about it. But all's well that ends well. And what's a picnic without food? But who ever heard of such a thing? Yes, sir, it's the food that makes the picnic. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if this delightful young lady doesn't also know that it's the way to a man's heart. And banquets. Why, our national life would be entirely disrupted without them. Conventions would cease. Clubs go out of existence. High school seniors couldn't graduate. Politicians couldn't run for office. And the local boy who made good couldn't be welcomed home. And worse yet, Sweet Adeline and Hail, Hail the gangs all here would nevermore the welkin ring. Perish the thought. Now, we're sorry to tell you this, but with all this regular eating of 3 square meals, and sometimes more each day, many people, perhaps most people, do not know the fundamentals of good diet, which should be common knowledge with all of us. The food chemist, scientifically analyzing foods into their nutritive elements, will tell us that health, vitality, mental alertness, steady nerves, and even happiness and a wholesome outlook on life are all very largely determined by the foods we eat. It's surprising how many people ignore such sage and scientific advice. Take a Saturday off sometime and you'll have no trouble finding all the examples you need to prove the point. The fat ones, the lean ones, the sad ones, the mean ones, those with jittery nerves and angular curves, those who can't keep step. Are you in pain? Toothache. What a shame. And don't tell this to anybody, but that young man just sitting down failed to make the team again this year. And let's see. Oh, yes, that's the girl who wrote a letter last week to the charm and personality editor of the local newspaper. Like most of us, these people do not know how important a proper diet is to health, happiness, vitality, appearance, and hence personality. Of course, for a special diet, you should consult your doctor. But everybody can know the important rules of food selection and thereby avoid some serious mistakes. First, for convenience, we can group foods into 2 general classes, those primarily for protection and those which principally supply energy. The protective foods are essential in the meals of everybody, whether 6, 16, or 60. They include milk and milk products, vegetables, fruits, and eggs. These foods supply certain protective elements that we must have every day to maintain vitality and build body resistance to disease. These so-called energy foods supply mainly the starches, fats, and sugars. We should have some of them every day, the amount depending on the work or exercise we do. But when it comes to these, many of us have to be careful. An excess of the energy foods is inclined to produce overweight. Excess weight is not only damaging to one's appearance, but dangerous to one's health. The safest rule for everyone to follow is to eat enough of the protective foods first, and then whatever may be needed of the energy foods. This healthy, happy-looking family, who have kindly let us drop in right at mealtime, have discovered another fact. Of all the protective foods, milk is the most important, and just as necessary for dad and mother as for the youngsters. The food experts tell us every adult should have a pint or more of milk a day, and every growing child at least a quart. It is almost impossible to get enough of the protective elements without adequate amounts of milk. Milk does more for the body than any other food, and does it more cheaply. Suppose this rectangle represents the chief daily requirements of an average individual. I hope this surprises you as much as it did me. 1 quart of milk will supply not only all the calcium and vitamin G or riboflavin that you need, but generous amounts of the other vital elements as well. Phosphorus, about 3/4. Vitamin A, 1/2 or more. Protein, nearly 1/2. Vitamin B or thiamine, 1/3 or more. Energy, 1/4 or more. Iron and vitamin C, at least 1/6. If your body lacks these elements, you will one day discover that you're a long way from being the man or woman you could have been. You will recognize these as human teeth, I hope. A diet adequately supplied with calcium and phosphorus will help build strong teeth which resist decay. Decayed teeth, in turn, will make you an easy mark for several kinds of disease. Turn the magic X-ray on this fellow, Doctor. That's fine, thank you. The proper contraction and expansion of the muscles, yes, that's it, is another of the functions of calcium. In fact, this element plays such a significant part in the human body that it even helps to regulate the heartbeat. But that's still not all. Bone and tooth development and the healthful maintenance of them is an important calcium requirement. Thank you, sir. You may have your skeleton back now. Now let's visit a modern scientific laboratory where thousands of white rats are supplied all the comforts of home, and sometimes the discomforts. See, they're really very interesting fellows and would make excellent playmates, if you like white rats. Well, some folks do, and some don't, it seems. But at any rate, they have taught us a great many extremely important facts about what to eat and what happens when important elements are omitted. The white rats in these two pens are the same age. You'd never guess it, would you? Well, what happened? The scrawny little ones were kept on a diet entirely lacking in milk. Their big, husky brothers and sisters were given a balanced diet which included milk, and that's the secret of their success. Milk is just as important to the health of boys and girls, and men and women, as to our animal friends. But apparently none of our friends here know the value of milk as a basic requirement for everyone, and that is to be deplored. So what do you say? Let's tip off the waitress, and just for the fun of it, have her set a glass of milk in front of each of our visitors here as a good start toward healthful living. Of course, if you want to try to get your calcium in a different way, well, you might try this meal for a sample. These are good foods and have a proper place in the diet. But when it comes to calcium, you would have to eat all of the food shown here to equal the calcium of 1 quart of milk. Actually, you'd have to eat 3 heads of lettuce, the juice of 5 large oranges, 5 servings of beef, 10 servings of peas, 7 medium potatoes, 5 eggs, 20 slices of bread, 5 bowls of cereal, and 5 apples. Quite a good-sized meal, you will admit. Perhaps, after all, you would prefer the quart of milk. And besides, while we are on the subject of milk, we should remember it is an important source of vitamins A, B, and G. Vitamin A for positive health and vigor, for normal functioning of the eyes and resistance to certain infections. Vitamin B or thiamine for maintenance of the appetite and to aid digestion. Vitamin G or riboflavin is especially important for preserving the characteristics of youth, for health, skin and eyes, and for general vitality. And finally, since vitamin D aids in the utilization of calcium, the scientists have provided methods for increasing this essential food element in special vitamin D milk. Somebody has smartly said that milk drinkers live more years and have more life in the living. Health is a treasured possession of those fortunate enough to have it. A zest for life is the hope of all persons, young or old. Buoyant health, so vital to the player on the football field, is also vital in the everyday affairs of life and the daily job of making a living. Health is the basis for the desirable characteristics of vitality, charm, vigor, straight thinking, and active enjoyment of the society of others. But Uncle Sam knows how important to health and vitality the proper foods are, especially the protective foods. At Annapolis, the U.S. Naval Academy, where Uncle Sam's future admirals must keep in the best of condition. At West Point, the Army Officers Training School, where bodily health and mental keenness are essential. At the U.S. Army Air Corps training fields, where only the most skillful and best prepared men are capable of such amazing air maneuvers as you see here. And with Uncle Sam's valiant Coast Guard that must patrol, in fair or stormy weather, our thousands of miles of coastline, the protective foods form the basic diet. Here are typical foods at the Naval Academy. 1 quart of milk a day in addition to that used in cooking, eggs for breakfast 4 times a week, meat twice a day, and liberal quantities of fruits, vegetables, cheese, and butter. For dessert, ice cream almost every day. There's a thrill to living when you're bubbling over with health and vitality. The proper diet will help anyone to have better health and to enjoy a longer and happier life. Competition is keen in the commercial workaday world, and the promotions and bigger pay envelopes go to the men and women with steady nerves, alert minds, strong bodies, sparkling personalities. Such people have a great advantage in securing employment, for they are in demand by discerning employers. Airline pilots are noted for good health, active vitality, and keen, alert minds. These men represent the best in this modern, streamlined, fast-moving age. The airline's hostess is the envy of every girl in the country. She must have health, charm, steady nerves, a pleasing personality. This is a magnificent period in the young men and women who will find a successful place for themselves in this mentally and physically to meet the demands of a progressive, highly active, and fast-moving age. For health, vitality, speed, and endurance, join the parade of those who love to eat the right foods and who have achieved more life in living.
This is 1940 is when this film supposedly came out. I did some research on the title, made by Burton Holmes and the National Dairy Council. What I have discovered is in a lot of the films that I have that talk about nutrition, many of them, if not most of them, are actually sponsored by the National Dairy Council. And I find that interesting because it actually says a lot about, who's talking to us about what our diet should be. A lot of people argue that we shouldn't be having dairy. That's not really good for us. But the National Dairy Council says that we should, and in fact kind of adds a food group for it. So it's interesting to see. I did a show called Why We're Fat, and it talked about all the different films, and this is where I went from seven food groups all the way down to 2. So there was 7, I think 6, 5, 4. Then there was 2, and then I showed the potato chip film, The Adventures of Chip and Dip, and all of them talked about nutrition and talked about how important whatever the sponsoring board, how that was important to our diet. I wanted to say also, with teeth are a good thing to have. I did some research. I tried to look at the names and the credits, and they were ad people that did this. Dan Resin, the name of the dentist, he was a character actor. He showed up in Caddyshack, but I couldn't find anything else that really, because his name or his voice does sound familiar. The other thing is that I did many years ago, I did a dental hygiene show where I actually got some plaque disclosing tablets and gave them out to the audience, and we all did, we chewed on them, and it was that flavor that brought back some memories. Maybe I'll do it again when everything opens back up. You've seen me do a lot of things here over the last couple of weeks, and you see all the technical problems. Well, if I was doing a live show, I assure you there would be a different set of technical problems. And this next film is British, and it actually is a cautionary film for film projectionists. It's funny. It's intentionally funny. It's called Project the Right Image, and let's give that a watch.
Meet St. Matthews. It's 60 years since their first motion picture, but at St. Matthews they like to leave things for a bit to see if they'll catch on. Tonight, convinced that the movies are here to stay, the church is putting on a film. Meet Matthew. No, not the saint, but Matthew Sprocket, the projectionist. He also likes to leave things for a bit. So much so, in fact, that tonight he's late already. Between them, he and St. Matthews have much to learn.
Mr. Sprocket. I'm sorry I'm late. Sure, I missed the turn. The rain was coming down, you know. Yes, well, you're here now. Now, look, I hope this table might be suitable for your requirements. First class, pick up first class. Could I just have that, what? Could I just have that? Now, look, do you think that will be safe? You are dealing with an expert. That. Where'd you like this? What is it? A screen. Well, up there, I suppose. Right. Well, I think we are now more or less ready, so perhaps if you could take your seats, please. There are some empty ones down the front here. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or perhaps I should say friends. May I first of all welcome all of you to what perhaps is a rather momentous occasion in the life of St. Matthews. For tonight we are to have a film show. And I do feel that in this day and age, this whole matter of communication is extremely important. We Christians need to be prepared to communicate with communications, and we need to do this constantly. But as I said, tonight we are going to have a film show. Now I realize that perhaps a film show is quite a novelty. It might be when I was a younger man. I must say the cinema has been with us now for quite a number of years, and perhaps I should confess that occasionally I visit it myself, although I could really be described as a film fan. But nowadays it isn't only in the cinema. It is in our own homes that we have not only radio, but moving pictures as well in the shape of television. And you have come here to see a film. And it is my privilege and pleasure to introduce you to our very able, not to say talented projectionist, Mr. Matthew Sprocket. And he is going to project our film for us. And I am sure that this will be an experience which none of us will ever forget.
Come on, you please. Thank you very much. Yeah. Just put yourself. That's very nice. Thank you. Lovely. Be all right now, Vicar. Be all right now. Don't worry.
Well, patience, dear friends, patience. We live in a technological age, and I suppose in a time like this we must expect the occasional spanner in the works, but I'm sure Mr. Sprocket will soon manage to remove this particular spanner. I do feel that it is very important that the Church should keep abreast of the times, and that it should never allow its members to relax into its bosom, but that it should push them out into the hurly-burly of life's rich pageant. Sorry. Well, the point is that we are all in the dark, and we are all seeking the light. Are you ready now, Mr. Sprocket?
Well, the vicar did say they were in for an experience they'd never forget. So let's start again from the beginning and see how it might be done. Learning to show films efficiently isn't very difficult, but there are perhaps 10 basic commandments. First, make sure that your publicity is as attractive and informative as possible. And second, early preparation is essential. This means that the projectionist must be there in good time, the hall must be prepared well in advance, and this includes adequate blackout when necessary. It's a good idea to have stewards in the hall early to help the projectionist, and in particular to control the house lights. Third, the projectionist should make sure he has all the things he'll need. A proper projection stand, tall enough to clear people's heads, spare bulbs, adapters for plugs, an extension lead for the mains cable, spare spools, brushes to clean the projector, and fuses. Commandment 4. Put the screen where everyone can see it and place the loudspeaker as high as possible to left or right of the screen and facing diagonally across the room. Since you have a mains extension cable, you'll always be able to align the projector correctly with the screen, however far away the main socket may be. 5. Using the brush you've brought, clean the film path, the lens, and, most important, the sound optics. A small piece of dirt can permanently damage a film. 6. Before lacing up the film, switch on the projector and focus the white light on the screen. If necessary, adjust the position of the projector. This should be the last time white light is seen on the screen. Turn on the amplifier and set tone and volume controls to a midway position. Test that the sound system is working by moving the lens brush in front of the exciter lamp. Then lace up the film. This is a projector with automatic threading, which makes lacing easy. However, it is vital to check that the leader is in good condition with no torn sprockets. Whatever the projector, follow the instructions. Advance the film to where the numbers start and turn down the volume. And you are now ready to start showing the film.
Good evening. May I welcome all of you to St. Matthew's. Tonight we have a new venture, which is a film called Followers of the Sun.
Commandment 7. Make sure that whoever does the introduction to the film is clear and to the point.
Lively discussion afterwards. Thank you.
8. The correct starting sequence is important. Switch on the projector motor, not the lamp, and watch the numbers on the leader as they go into the projector. At number 3, turn out the house lights, turn on the lamp, and fade up sound. Focus the film and adjust the framing and tone controls if necessary. Now, just before we leave Matthew and St. Matthew's, let's go over these points once again. First, always have good publicity. Second, always be punctual, arriving in good time. Third, preparation is vitally important. Try and think of everything you may need. Fourth, see that your projector, screen and loudspeaker are in the correct position. 5, take care to clean the film path. 6, preset the film and projector controls so that you're ready to start immediately. 7, anyone who does a preamble to the film should know how to stand up, speak up, and shut up. 8, project the film using the correct starting sequence. And 9, well, at last you can sit back and relax, but do be alert for any problem that may arise. Never, never leave the projector while it is running. Oh yes, one thing more too. Do make sure, won't you, that it's the right film, with the right title, and for the right audience.
I really like that film. The funny thing is, the first time that I showed it publicly, it was during a how-to show. So it was different films on how to do different things. And so I showed it and had all these technical problems with it. It was outrageous how much of a problem I had showing the film. It was like I had jinxed myself in some weird way, trying to ironically show a film on how to project film. So be careful what you're dealing with 16 millimeter, the powers of 16 millimeter. I should also say that in doing live projections over the years, more than 20 years, there have been all sorts of horrible things that have happened. One of the craziest things was that I was doing a screening in New York City, and at one point, and I always try to bring my projector because I know it, and I know how to service it and all that stuff. And at some point, I look back to the take-up reel where the film is taking up, and the film had twisted and was actually building up on the outside of the reel, so that there was there's a little bit of the film, then there was this gap where the metal reel was, and it was lined up on the outside of it. So all it would take is just tapping it, and it would all just fall apart. So I still was halfway through my show, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I had one of these big utility tubs that I had all my AV stuff in. I emptied it out, and then I took as it was running, I took the reel off and put it in the tub, and then let the film just kind of go into the tub as it was being pulled. And then I had to manually rewind it. So nightmarish things like that. Or I've also had it to where I forgot to do the little lock on the back take-up reel, and it fell off and then rolled as the film was running. Lots of crazy things like that. I try to keep white tape, artist tape, just in case something breaks, and then I can quickly do a dirty splice. So yeah, there's some magic to projection. There's one time I had a film strip projector that I'd bring with me, and it was in my suitcase, and so I flew to New York and Long Island, and I turned it on and in front of everybody, and this like poosh, this like blue smoke popped out, and it was like bulb blue. So I didn't get to show a film strip that day because I actually the spare I did not pack with my suitcase. So there's lots of digital technical problems that we run into, but man, analog has its own beasts to deal with. So, all right, let me do one more film, another animated film. How about that? This one is about, it's kind of, you know, again, it's one of these, it's about vandalism, but it's really about, but the story is some other weird thing. It's called The Planet of Ticklebops, and why it's important to take care of property. So, enjoy.
Once there was a small planet called Nice. Everyone on Nice lived loose with glass bubbles on top. The bubbles gave light, kept out the rain, and made everyone feel cozy inside their cocoons.
Hi, I'm Vandal.
Life on planet Nice was really nice. Vandal and everyone else on Nice was very proud of their planet. They took good care of things because, well, actually, they didn't really know why.
Vandal, don't forget to leave your room.
Nice and tidy.
Tidy and nice.
Yeah, Mom. Yeah, Dad.
Vandal, did you...
It's all really clean. Honest.
Good boy, Vandal.
Bye, Mom. Hey, Darlene.
Every morning, Vandal hurried out to meet his best friend, Darlene.
Come on, Vandal. Let's go down to the tickleboppery.
Ticklebopping was the main sport on planet Nice. Ticklebops were kept at the free public tickleboppery, where from time to time they were recharged, repainted in the body shop, and had their air filters replaced and handlebars realigned. The last step in the tune-up was a thorough oiling, and then they were ready to be tickled pink.
Hey, this one really has a good sense of humor. Look, Vandal. Mine is already turning pink. It's crazy. Look, me too. You gotta, yes, like that. Keep humping. You got it. That's it.
Every ticklebopping day, Vandal and Doreen stopped to draw themselves a snack.
Always throw trash in the tulips.
Don't you ever get fed up, what? Always having to be so clean and tidy. Well, we do have to take care of things. Why? Why? I don't know.
Hi,
Vandal. Hi, Darine.
Hi, lady.
Have a heart. They're nice and sweet.
Gee, thanks. You sure got a terrific garden.
Oh, raising plants is just a question of sweet talk. Isn't that right, cutie?
Come to me, my melancholy baby. Cuddle up and down, be blue. Wow! Oh, Vandal! No! One day, Darine had an idea.
Hey, Vandal? Yeah? No one's around. So? Let's play Bop the Bubble.
What's that?
You see those bubbles?
Yeah.
You gotta bop up and get the top bubble without knocking over the ones underneath.
But suppose we miss and break something.
Vandal, we're just two little kids. As long as everyone else takes care of things, it wouldn't matter if we didn't, right?
Well...
Come on! I'll go first. Your turn! Come on, let's get out of here.
Night, Darine.
See you tomorrow, Van. Hi.
Hi.
Nobody saw.
Guess not.
Boy, you sure look funny when you bop that bubble.
You should have seen the expression in your face when the bubble
Bop, bop, bop. Let's do it again.
Gee, I don't know.
Come on. You're gonna let one bad bop let you down?
Oh, I just don't think we should.
Me too.
It's very hard.
Takes years of practice.
Balance.
Perfect aim.
Talent.
Guts.
Gee, that was really something.
You!
I know what.
Vandal, baby, you're brilliant!
They don't fit, do they?
No, Vandal!
Oh, what are you so upset for? It's just a thing. Ticklebop time! What's up? Huh? Huh?
Closed on account of no more money.
Yeah. Can't afford to fix the bobs because we spend too much buying new bubbles. Just ain't enough money for everything, I guess.
They can't do that. They can't take away our ticklebop. We'll sell 'em. Yeah, sell 'em. Yeah. Coming, Darine? Vandal? What are you, chicken? go pop some bubbles? No, it isn't fun anymore. My hat is ruined. Big deal. It's just a thing. It's my thing. So what? I bet you got something you care about. That's different. It's not. And besides, just look around. The planet isn't nice anymore.
Little by little, everyone began taking care of the planet again.
Cuddle up and down, Big Blue.
All right, here.
Sometimes, though, he did feel like smashing things. So they built a special smash-a-rooney pit. That is how the game of bowling was invented. From then on, things were really nice again.
Wasn't that a wonderfully strange film? So that company, not Learning Corporation, but the company that actually animated it, did lots of films like this. There's another one in my collection called It's Nice to Have a Wolf Around the House. And Fred Wolf is one of the animators. And they did a variety of different really amazing things in the 70s. One of the biggest things they did was... I guess they won an Academy Award for The Box, which is a film about Noah's Ark. And they also did kind of a cult classic, The Point, which was Harry Nilsson's kind of musical about a little boy visiting this weird land where everybody has a point on their head, which I distantly remember as a kid. So thanks so much for joining us. Tomorrow, if technology behaves, we will have a special guest from Canada. Her name is Kayla Janice, and she and I have worked on many projects together and have done screenings together. And I let her pick 3 films, and they're all depressing, but they're good. They're so good, and so they touch the brain in weird ways. So what I'll do is I'll sweeten the pot a little bit on the beginning and the end, so we won't all be bummed out on Wednesday. But yeah, she'll be joining us from Canada, and if the video works out, then you'll get to see her. If not, we'll get to hear her, and she'll talk about the films. So thanks again, everybody, for coming out and commenting. If you like what you saw, avgeeks.com. There's a place to watch previous episodes that we've done of this. Also to buy DVDs, or Patreon is a place you can donate. At the very least, share what we're doing and tell people and say, like, hey, I've been watching this thing with this guy that just kind of sits there and shows old films and sometimes talks about them and sometimes just kind of scratches his head. I'll see everybody tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Everybody have a good rest of the day. Take care.